Hey everyone, welcome to the Homeless Landlord Podcast, episode number 3 with me, your host, Manuk. And this podcast is about me, a full time traveling nomad who's a landlord who is attempting to reach every country on earth. And I am officially a full time traveler as of in less than 24 hours. I am, so I'm getting ready to leave and I am mostly packed. I am about 85% packed. So I want to talk a little bit about what I'm bringing and sort of like the first leg of this trip. Now, the first leg is pretty big and can or might include quite a few amount of countries. Um, so I'll sort of jump into a little bit about how I plan to get to a few of these countries, and then obviously as I'm traveling, I'll get into more details about them. So I am once again I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Morocco. Morocco will be my 60th country. For the purposes of this podcast, I'm sort of going to treat it like it's my first country, as I'm obviously going to dive deep into some of the things I'll be doing there and how I'm getting around, and um, it kind of makes me hope, kind of makes me think it would have been cool to start this from country number one, but I never knew how far I'd make it. I didn't think I would get to 59 countries. I really didn't. I just sort of hopped on a plane and told myself I might want to get to every country, but I didn't. I never knew if I never actually thought I would pursue it full time. Maybe I did, but not. It's tough. It's tough when you have your life and when you have society, and then when you have just different reasons in your own head to not do something. So I'm very grateful to be here at this point. I'm very excited about tomorrow. I'm not as nervous as I was a week ago. I've slept much better these last few nights, and I think that goes a long way with me personally. I don't know about you guys. I have my coffee here, which coffee makes everything better in my life, probably in a lot of your lives. And if it's not in your life, you're weird, bro. That's extra hot. For some reason, coffee is hotter in a mug. Does anybody else agree with that? If I make it in a travel mug, sorry, in a travel mug, it's more hot for me. Like when I get it depending on the coffee shop, but generally in a paper cup and in a mug, just a regular mug, it's not. It's probably just because it traps it inside and the heat has really nowhere to escape if you have a good lid. Anyway, let's talk about some travel. I'm so excited. Morocco is my 60th country, and I plan to land in Marrakesh. So overall, Morocco is going to be approximately 9 days, and Morocco. So this stretch includes Marrakesh, which I'm sorry, it includes Western Sahara, which is a disputed territory in regards to whether or not it's considered in an official country count. There are 3 official country counts according to many metrics. And I guess this is important for anybody who wants to get to every country. There are 3 official country counts. There are 193 that everybody agrees on, and then there's 195, and there are 197. And the two that separate the 193 from the 195 are Palestine and Vatican City, and both of them have something to do with individual representation at the UN meetings, whether they're an independent state and have independent representation at the UN. I believe. If I'm wrong, please send me a message and I'll correct it. And I've been to Vatican City, so I'm at least counting countries towards the 195. And obviously, I would love to get to Palestine one day. Probably not anytime soon, but and then the difference between the 195 and the 197 are Taiwan and Western Sahara. And again, this is not I'm not getting into any of the political reasons as to why some countries are viewed and some aren't, depending on which source you're asking. These are simply the distinctions between those 3 common country count numbers. So, I would love to go to the Western Sahara, and I'm going to be right there in Morocco. And I sort of, I might have overbooked my stay. I don't need to do 9 days in Morocco. And when I realized that, so I booked my flight to Morocco, and then I booked my flight out from Casablanca to Mauritania to get to country number 61. And in the in what after doing this, I realized, wait, I don't need 9 days, right? So I'll probably do like 3 days in Marrakesh. I was going to maybe go into the desert of Morocco. So at this, I can go through the desert in Western. There's lots of deserts to be seen in North Africa. I'm not pressed on going to the desert in Morocco based on time. And since I can go to Western Sahara and check off one of the countries towards 197, I'm going to do it, and I'm absolutely counting it as a country. I don't do this for every territory. I don't. I've been to Aruba. It's a Dutch territory. It's not a country. I've been to, yeah, there's really only 197 maximum countries you can go to if you wanted to count towards the official country count. And after about 3 days in Marrakesh, I will. I haven't decided yet because I'm quite last minute with a lot of things. Like I'm literally flying out tomorrow, and I don't even have a place yet in Morocco. I'll have one at the airport. I'll book some stuff, but uh, yeah. So 3 days ish in Marrakesh, and then approximately 3 days into and back out of Western Sahara, even though it's a long drive. So I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to rent a car from Marrakesh or from Casablanca, but it's mostly safe if you're driving along the coast of Morocco. There's a coastal highway or road, I believe, that goes down on the obviously on the west coast of Morocco and goes into Western Sahara. And there's no passport control because it's a disputed territory and because it's technically a part of Morocco in many people's eyes. So yeah, so I will probably spend 2 to 3 days in Western Sahara and then come back and then do a couple days in Casablanca before going to Mauritania. Um, yeah, Mauritania is a Sahelian country. It's a desert country, and I will be flying into the capital of Mauritania called Nouakchott. I believe it's Nouakchatt. Don't quote me on that. I like the fact that there's a nuke in there. Sort of. There's sort of. I don't fully know how to pronounce that. I'm gonna go with Nouakchott, and we're gonna fix it from there later on when we arrive. Yeah, but so I don't plan to spend a ton of time there, and I've only booked a one-way ticket from Casablanca to Nouakchott, and I will most likely overland into Senegal because I believe it's pretty close to Dakar, which is the major metropolitan city of Senegal. And Dakar, Senegal, for me, is going to be sort of a hub. And what I mean by that is Dakar, Senegal has many embassies of African countries that are nearby that I would like to go to that require visas. And so obviously when you're traveling like a normal person and you want to go to a country, you have to that requires a visa. You need a visa to enter. I would say there are probably 3 types of visas. Not so much types, but 3 ways of acquiring visas. Types of visas are different. You have travel visas, you have tourism visas, you have business visas, voluntary work. There's different types of visas, but there's 3 ways to acquire a visa. And each of those independent 3 ways, some countries only have one. Some countries have multiple ways, but essentially the first way, which would be the best way if they have it, would be to get a digital visa, an e-visa in advance. You go online, you give them what they want, and a lot of times it depends. Each country has their own requirements, so some countries might want you to send bank statements to see if you have enough money for your trip, which I definitely understand it being a little bit sketchy to just send your bank documents to someone you've never met and probably never will. And who knows? Maybe you'll be wiped out. You'll be broke. You won't. They'll scam your account. It's not gonna happen. It doesn't happen. It probably happens. But so bank documents, passport, where you're staying. Some countries require an invitation letter. An invitation letter, from my understanding, because I haven't been to any countries yet that require one. I've been to 59, and none of them required an invitation letter, but there's going to be a nice chunk of them that require it coming up very soon. And those are either from your personal friends or the hotel. A lot of times will provide an invitation letter if you have a hotel booked. And also Airbnb hosts will do so. But what I plan to do is before I book any Airbnbs in countries that require these visas, I plan to send them messages saying, hey, I want to get a visa. Can you send me an invitation letter and I'll book whatever. So there's the e-visas. Then there are the visas where you have to where you visa on arrival, a VOA, which in my opinion is the best because you don't have to go back and forth through email. You don't have to send any personal documents. Visa on arrival simply means when you arrive. I mean, it's good to know what you need for the required. I mean, you have to know what you need for the required visa on arrival documents, but you pretty much arrive at the customs, whether you're doing a overlanding or you're coming in through an airport, and you give them the required paperwork, and they give you a visa there, and they stamp your passport. Sometimes it requires a fee, sometimes it doesn't. And then there are the ones that you need to get directly from the embassy. So here in the United States, if you wanted to do that, so let's say you're going to Liberia, and it's just a trip to Liberia from the U.S. As an example, just a pure example, they don't have e-visas, they don't have visas on arrival, so you have to actually physically mail your passport and required travel documents to the embassy in the United States, which I would personally never do ever in my life. From all the countries I plan to go to, I don't ever plan to mail anything, any passport or any required travel documents. I'm not trusting that. Mail gets lost, especially if it's not doing it. Or you can just physically go into the embassy. So those are I mean, they're both required to go to get it from the embassy directly. So that third method is the method I'm going to try to use for most all the countries because it's simply it's even if an e-visa is available, I might as well just walk in and try to get it done because I believe a lot of those visas can be done same day. I mean, I know they can, but like I don't know how it is in Africa. Like I know here in the U.S. you can get same day visas. Sometimes you got to pay an extra fee. Africa, or in Senegal specifically, in the embassies there, and again they all vary. They're different. One country owes no other country any favors. So if these are the rules to get into Mali, then these are the rules. Period. So yeah. So I plan to sort of hop around between the embassies in Senegal, in Dakar, Senegal. I mean, there's at least 10 that I know of: Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Liberia. Like they're all in Dakar or right outside Dakar. I know there's one. It might be Guinea-Bissau or Guinea. That's like outside of Dakar, but so yeah. So and another reason it's a hub. So there's two other reasons. All right, so it's a hub for that reason because I need to spend some time getting those. Another reason it's a hub is because there's an official country called Cabo Verde. That's an island country that belongs to Africa, and it's closest to Senegal. So flying out of Dakar would be the most obviously efficient way to do it. So I also plan to, I'll go from Morocco to Mauritania to Senegal. I'll round trip from Cabo Verde back to Senegal. And then there are a series of countries that I have to logistically figure out how to get to. But there are these Sahelian countries I mentioned in the last podcast. These are much more dangerous countries, unsafe countries. There's a lot of civil unrest. There's terrorist attacks that happen randomly. And a lot of it is because of the conditions, and there's malnutrition issues. There's high poverty. I mean, we're talking about like huge desert countries with lots of small villages, and people just don't have access to basic human needs. So in these countries, generally you're good in the big cities, and generally you're very not good outside of those, very unsafe to the point where you are an idiot to overland. So Senegal then, for the third reason, is a hub because I might end up having to round trip fly to a couple of these countries back into Senegal based on like the cost of the flight, based on the efficiency of the route. Because I do not plan to overland. I don't plan to hire any private taxis or cars or even buses. They have a great bus company that actually goes to a lot of these countries. But I was talking to one of the companies is called STM Voyage, and this particular bus company goes to, I believe, 8 of these countries in the little northwest region pocket of Africa, like the southern northwest pocket of Africa. But I was talking to the one agent, and he said, yeah, you can travel from Burkina Faso to Mali, but it's safe because we have military vehicles following us. Like, bro, why do you have a military vehicle? What is that? How is that safe? Well, because there's a military vehicle? We have a military vehicle because it's unsafe. And again, this is just with me talking to different locals through Reddit, subreddits, and practically hearing the same thing across the board with these countries. Do not go overland. Take a plane and you're safe. So I have to figure out. again, because I'm quite last minute and because I need that flexibility to do this as efficiently as possible, I need to figure out, am I going to be flying round trip out of Senegal? Am I like from Senegal to Mali and back, Senegal to Burkina Faso and back, Senegal to Nigeria and back, or am I doing Senegal, Burkina Faso, like hopping one-way flights from airport to airport? It all just depends on the efficiency and the cost. Um, so yeah, and I know a lot of times when you book flights from one place to another, especially in countries that are not as touristy, they don't necessarily have direct flights. So you know, I might want to book a flight out of one country into another, but it might lay over to another country that I can check off. Now, not by being at the airport, which by the way does not count. If you're a person who travels and is like, I've been here and I've been there, and you've just been to the airport at a particular country, you have not been to that country by any measure. Sorry, it doesn't count. You can't even just step outside and just eat a food. You have to like, I don't know. I mean, all right, it's subjective, but you can't just be at the airport. So anyway, so there are certain routes that if I were to just hop on a plane and go from country A to B, it might lay over through country C that I could also just check off. So like I might be able to like sort of save costs by just booking a regular flight somewhere and having a layover somewhere that could be a country I can spend time in. Well, obviously it would have to be enough time for me to be able to do something, or I could, as I'm researching the routes, right? Let's say Senegal to Mali, I'm researching a route and it lays over through Sierra Leone for a night. I can then check to see, oh, maybe I can do a one-way flight into Sierra Leone, check that off, and then I can do a one-way flight from there to Mali because there's that sort of agreement between the airports to have that, they just have that direct flight. So it requires a lot of time and research to be able to make sure I do that efficiently because I'm not overlanding. If I was overlanding, different story. Overlanding meaning hiring a car or a bus or or just driving. I could simply just I could just hire someone and go. That doesn't take a ton of planning. There are lots of drivers out there eager to work, and but yeah, it's just unsafe to do it. And I'm obviously you have to take risks in travel, but you shouldn't take stupid risks. You should take calculated risks. You can go to level 4, do not travel countries, as long as you're doing the research and staying away from danger zones and staying away from what people are telling you is very unsafe. So that said, I do plan to spend a probably ample amount of time in Senegal for those reasons. And then after that whole thing is done, then I plan to hit the road overlanding and going south into the Gambia, which the Gambia is interesting. It's a country that's so this is the Gambia and this is Senegal, right? And Dakar is up here. So when you're driving, when you're coming down from Mauritania and all right, I can't. When you have like, this is Dakar, you would drive through Senegal and then you would drive through Gambia and then you would drive back down through Senegal to get back down, or to get past into, I believe, Guinea. It's either Guinea or Guinea-Bissau is next. And then that's when the road trips start. And yeah, those countries are mostly safe for the most part. They're safe for tourists and for travelers. I mean, there's some hairier parts, like I think Liberia a little bit. But Liberia is interesting. They have a very unique relationship with the United States, which I'll get to more in the Liberia episode, for example. This is simply just about like where this is going starting tomorrow. Um, yeah. So that's sort of like the first, like I would say the first leg of this trip is all the way until I get to like Nigeria, which is a few months. Why Nigeria? I don't even know. I know because Nigeria is a huge, like tons of people in Nigeria. It's a major hub. I think it's the most populated country in Africa. I believe. I'm pretty sure that's true. And Lagos, Nigeria, I believe is this one. I'm not as sure about, but I think it's the most populated city in Africa. I'm pretty sure. I keep forgetting how hot that is. The coffee, by the way, coffee I'm drinking is very hot. Um, I think that's so. I think the reason I'm considering Nigeria as the first leg is because I'll be going through a lot of non-touristy countries, and then Ghana. Ghana is sort of along the way. Ghana gets a lot of tourism. I mean, some of these other countries do get tourism, but just based on the way I'm traveling and based on what's next after Nigeria, because then after Nigeria, I don't know the exact order of countries off the top of my head. I don't have my lap. I meant to bring my laptop and have it in front of me. I didn't. I don't have it. Sorry. I'll have it next time. But which hopefully will be in a week. Again, I plan to do one a week, and next time it'll be from Morocco. or Western Sahara actually, maybe if there's a chance to do it there. But yeah, so that would be the first leg of my trip, and I'm excited. As far as the landlording stuff, everything is under control. Things will be looked after for the most part, and things as I'm leaving will be. It's funny. Just yesterday, I was showing one of my friends something in. I was just showing him something in the basement, and I walk in and there's a huge puddle, and I was like, "Well, crap. This is inconveniently timed." So I go upstairs, and so above the basement there's a storefront. And I go in the store, and there's a puddle, and I look up at the ceiling, and there's water, and I'm like, "Oh crap!" So now let's go all the way upstairs. And then I found the issue, and luckily just now I was able to fix it. I wasn't even confident that I could fix it myself. I am what some would call a schmo when it comes to fixing things. So, um, what that means is, uh, I I can I can fix most people. I can fix schmo than most people, but not as much as now. I try to get a pun out of there. We'll try again later. I'm not trying that again later, but I was able to fix it luckily, and that's situated. But and obviously things are in place to get handled while I'm away. But yeah, it's one of those things that I'm still having trouble grasping my mind around is the fact that like I'm able to most of the time fix things and do things for cheap while I'm here, and and I have great people in place to help me out, and things should still relatively be okay. But sometimes if something is worse, is if something is a pretty a bigger problem, then maybe not, then it would probably cost a little bit more. And I'm just not used to spending money that way when I'm here on the business because I mostly handle it myself. So those are some things I've been having to cope with and kind of wrap my mind around. But in any event, so yeah, so that stuff, the landlording stuff, as of now, is handled, and we are in full travel mode. I am very much looking forward to my 9 hour layover in London, which is actually during the day. So yeah, I'll be flying to the east, so I'll be losing 6 hours. I'll be flying into the future, and I'll be landing in London in the morning, and then I have a 9 hour layover. So yeah, I have some time to do some things in London. It's funny. I just went to London 2 months ago. My first time in London. Loved it. Great city, huge city. 5 airports. Insane. Why do you need 5 airports? They probably do. But so yeah, so I will be taking my bus out of Philly, which it's interesting. One of my travel friends reached out to me, and I believe she listens to this podcast, and she asked me where I'm flying out of and how I plan to get there, and I told her the bus route, and she just went and booked the ticket. She's like, "I'm gonna come hang out with you for the day," and then she's gonna do her thing in New York. So that's pretty cool. Have a little travel companion on my bus ride from Philly to New York, and then I'll be flying out of New York at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Election Day 2024. I won't know who won until I land. um, maybe even not then because it will be in the middle of the night here in the U.S. So yeah, I just wanted to jump on here and just this is my last day here in the United. Well, tomorrow's my last day, but this is my last full day here in the U.S. I packed everything that I possibly could in a suitcase. So I have a backpack and I have a carry-on. And to sort of summarize some of the things I'm bringing on this trip, so God, just nothing better than a second cup of coffee in the afternoon. I can think of nothing better. That's the end of that statement. So yeah, my carry on is mostly all clothing. My carry on is obviously actually I have it here with me. For anybody who's watching it, this is my carry on, and it's a standard carry on, right? I believe it's what 22 inches. I think is the limit. And yeah, it's mostly just clothes, and I have my all my electronic stuff in a little box. So I have all the cords, the power banks, the travel chargers, travel adapters from all the countries. I got the one that's like that comes, it's got all the countries, or yeah, all the plugs for all the different countries and regions in the world. Um, all the cords out the wazoo. Um, and I have my backpack. So I'm gonna pop that up here for the cam. Here's my backpack. There's a couple things I still need to add in here. This is a regular backpack. It's nothing too fancy. That is a I have here my filtered water bottle, and um, yeah, a few other things I have to add. And then I've had some people and some great amazing people in my life who have also given me some stuff. My favorite thing I've been given is something called a life straw, which is a filtered straw, which you can just pop you could just plunk that right into the river, into the stream, and just drink, and it filters it out. And apparently, it works very well according to the reviews. So I think that will come in handy if I'm ever in a jam. Obviously, like different medicines, things for the stomach, things for headaches, things for allergies. My mom has given me some nice allergy stuff. Tripod's needed for sure. That's actually holding up the phone right now that I'm recording on. Tripod. Yeah, not. I don't have too much recording equipment. I don't plan to go too crazy. I wanted to bring a drone, but the problem with the drone is there are certain countries that actually don't allow you to bring a drone into their country. Not many, but just enough to where it can be inconvenienced if I am somewhere and then I'm like, well, crap. What do I do with the drone? I can't. What am I just going to store it? What am I going to shovel? I'm going to dig a hole in. Yeah. So that's not not bringing a drone. Actually, kind of breaks my. I really did want to bring a drone. I used to have one. I really I don't know. I'm not bringing a drone. It's final. So I'm not bringing a drone. Probably two pairs of sneakers in my. So I'll have my sandals or flip flops, two pairs of sneaks, and my hiking shoes, which I'll be wearing. Those I'll be wearing every time I actually travel because they're the bulkiest. Which is also kind of like a pain because travel meaning like a travel day to get to another country and like everything's on me. I got both. I got the suitcase and the backpack. Um, and a sleeping bag. So the sleeping bag is going to be maybe tricky. Sleeping bag I've taken before as a third item, and most airlines are cool with it. But I have had one airline try to charge me. Well, they did charge me for it. Um, no, yeah, they did. But they what they did was they charged me for my overweight backpack. Back then I didn't have a carry on, so I just had my backpack and my sleeping bag. They charged me for the overweight backpack. Therefore, the sleeping bag was not an extra charge. In other words, if it was, I would have ditched the sleeping bag because it's a cheap sleep. It was like $20 probably. I can just get another one. But so what I do with the sleeping bag is I put it I put this around my neck like on top of my backpack. So just imagine if my backpack was here. This would be here, and I sort of walk around with my hands like this, like leaning on it. And it's funny. It acts as a standing pillow. It's quite comfy when you lean your head back. So, but technically it's a third. It is a third item, but I need it for airports and other potential situations where I'm just not. I'm just out of yeah. So it's good to have. But it's not if for whatever reason I can't bring it past a certain airport, I'll just say, hey, you guys can have it. I'll donate it. Maybe there's never mind. I'm gonna leave that alone. Maybe there's a homeless person nearby. Maybe they can. All right, so that's what I'm bringing. The backpack. What else? There's more stuff in the backpack for sure that I'm missing. My laptop will go in the backpack. I just have to pack it in a laptop sleeve. My microphone, laptop charger, travel documents like my yellow fever vaccine, my COVID vaccine. I have extra copies of certain things. I've made copies of my passport. I have my old passport, and I have my old driver's license. I have my license, credit cards. I actually have a travel list of things, and I just went through it, and I'm already forgetting what I put in there. Why not just unzip? Just make sure I'm not forgetting anything good. Oh, hiking sticks. Hiking sticks they're good because like for me, my knees get a little bothered when I'm hiking downhill. Um, and those definitely help me go a long way. They alleviate some of the pressure. Obviously the toiletries and stuff. So toothpaste, toothbrush, the comb. You got to get the gel in there. You gotta keep the hair. You gotta groom the hair and the beard. You gotta be looking good, especially at the airports. You never know when the customs agent wants to hassle you. And if you look good, they're gonna hassle you less. Vitamins, multivitamins, and some cooling towels also given to me. Yeah, and wet wipes. Wet wipes are a top 5 must for traveling. You need them. You need them. I mean, you just for everything and anything that requires if something has to be, we know what a wet wipe does. Wet wipe does. You need it. Um, and yeah, that sort of summarizes what I'm bringing. Nothing too crazy. Still some last items, a few last items that I'm trying to sneak in there if I can. But yeah, I think I can make things work to where I want them. The only thing I'm not going to be able to bring really are winter items, like heavy winter items, which I don't know if I'll need them, and if I do, I won't be needing them for a while. So I'd rather just travel light for as long as I can and pick up a jacket somewhere. I did bring like one or two long sleeve items and like a windbreaker. A windbreaker is another top five, maybe. I should make a list. But yeah, I'm not really bringing any. I did bring a winter hat. That's because if it's small, it fits. But as far as winter items, I have a lot of winter items I would love to bring, but I'm just I'm skipping it based on where I'm starting. Again, every country's a goal, and there are many cold countries I have not been to yet, like some that I'm really anticipating: Norway, Finland, Sweden, and I don't know what time of year I'll be there. Um, Regardless, and then you go hiking and there's mountains, so like colder gear is needed, but I think I can go a little bit of time without too much cold gear. I might wear a jacket tomorrow, so it's still kind of chilly in Philly, New York. Excuse me, I might wear one. Might wear one on the way to New York, but I don't. Yeah, if I do, it's going to be light, and that's the only one I'm bringing, and then it's probably going to be an inconvenience for a while. So yeah, so those are some of the things I'm bringing, and obviously when you're out there, you can always swap. You can always clothes get old, you swap out, and you get new clothes, or you don't. Whatever you're doing, you know you can rock old clothes if you want. And I think we are nearing the end of this podcast. So yeah, very excited. Very excited. I've had a lot of friends reach out and say all sorts of amazing things, and just it's so refreshing to know they have a lot of supportive people in your life, and it's honestly tough without it. Like obviously, when you decide to do something like this, you're doing it for yourself, but of course you want recognition for it. Of course everybody wants recognition in their field, no matter what field you're in. If you want, you're not just I'm not just going to every country because it's like, oh, this is great, I did it. It's something cool that I would wish to sort of build a legacy on somehow. I don't know how to yet because I'm kind of dumb in a lot of regards. So just kidding. I'm not as dumb as I say, which makes me even more dumb. But um yeah, so I don't. Yeah, obviously you want recognition for it. So I'm just very happy. You always have naysayers and things. You always have people who either think you can't do something or think you're an idiot for doing something, and they're probably right. But you, at the end of the day, you stick to what you stick to why you started, and you just do your best, and hopefully a little bit of faith and a little bit of perseverance, things will work out in your favor. So super excited about tomorrow. I will I obviously my Instagram is where I post all the juice and the stories. So my Instagram is Nukeyhove, Nukeyhov. I will be posting this. This will be on podcast and Apple and maybe on YouTube. If you liked the episode, please like it. Please subscribe to it. Please follow it. I think is what you do on Spotify. And please share it with your friends. And I will see you next time from Africa.